So, what do you feel about being here today?
I'm pretty nervous today.
Anything else?
Just a lot of, sweaty palms, turning stomach, that kind of stuff.
Uh, do you remember having thoughts to that nature? Um, the sweaty palms, the turning stomach, and
It really happened like right when I got to your office. The thoughts got pretty bad.
okay. And as the thoughts got more severe, what happened to your symptoms? The stuff with the anxiety, the stomach, the sweaty palms.
The stomach got worse, lump in my throat. Uh, yeah, it was having difficulty breathing, almost like shortness of breath.
Okay. Some symptoms in the stomach, as well as other physical symptoms, such as a lump in your throat, some difficulties breathing.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you see any connections between the fearful thoughts that you had about coming into the office and the symptoms that you're experiencing?
No, not. I mean, they just kind of run together.
Okay. So one of the things we want to look at is to see whether this type of thinking that you do produces the types of effects, both psychologically in terms of the anxiety you feel, and also physically with the funny feelings in your stomach and the sweaty palms and the choking sensation that you get. We want to see if indeed the thinking produces the anxiety symptoms. Now, if the thinking isn't reasonable, like if it's way out of line, you can correct the anxiety symptoms by connecting to the thinking. For instance, it might very well be that it doesn't matter how you perform while you're here. And if you can be convinced that it really doesn't matter, that it's my job rather than your job, then you wouldn't feel anxious anymore.
Yeah, that would definitely help.
Okay, so let's look at it right now and let's see if it's true. Whose responsibility is it to carry on the interview right now, yours or mine?
That'd be you.
Right. And what's your role?
My role is to be the client.
Okay. So your role is simply to answer questions and any kind of nervousness about um, performing well in the interview or whatnot. Uh, you're just here to give me information because the whether you do it well or not, the nervousness itself is a form of information, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So the responsibility isn't on you, is it?
No, no,
And what about the question of evaluation? That's not on you either, is it?
no.
Now, do you think it would be way more reasonable to way to, or what do you think would be a more reasonable way, rather, to have your role in this particular interview?
Just answer your questions. Be honest with you, so you can give me honest feedback.
Right. Now, does the anxiety that you feel prevent you from being honest?
No, not at all.
Okay, so you can be honest whether you're anxious or not. And that honesty has nothing to do with performing well, or carrying on a good conversation, being a polished speaker, and so on.
Right, right.
Okay. So now that we've gone through that and restructured the role, how are you feeling?
A little bit better. Still a little bit anxious, but better.
Okay. Uh, you can see when a person changes their thinking from something that's kind of exaggerated, such as I have to perform well, I have to do whatever, uh, excel in these various things, and you change that to I just have to do whatever comes my way. You can see how the thinking gets modified, and then the emotions do change. So let's see how this develops. Now, in terms of your major problems, what's the reason you're coming in for therapy today?
Just going through a divorce. I'm depressed and just a lot of anxiety.
Okay, well, first I'd like to look at your depression itself. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so let's examine the depression and see just what it's made up of. Uh, what now? On what basis do you think that you can make the diagnosis that you're depressed?
Just the stomach thing that I said earlier, being lonely, kind of like feeling like nobody wants me.
Okay. So it seems like your depression is made up on the fabric of several conclusions. One is that you're lonely, um, that no one's going to want you. Um, it, is that the way that you're seeing your life situation right now in this very negative term in terms of you and other people?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. Now, how do you view yourself as you look at yourself? Do you see yourself in glowing positive terms?
I feel good about myself. After the divorce, with the new position in the company, starting to try my life all over again. Just trying to eliminate the loneliness is, I think, is what I'm after.
So the major thing that seems to bother you is your loneliness.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, as you look back in the past, how does your past history seem to you?
It's not good.
Okay, so in what ways do you feel that your past history is not good?
Um, I was pretty, kind of lonely as a kid. No brothers and sisters. My parents were alcoholics. Uh, very few friends. I kind of just sheltered myself.
Okay.
Kind of.
Uh, in recent years, do you feel that you've made a success out of life, say in the last 5 to 10 years?
When I got married 5 years ago, my wife was really, really awesome. At the time, she was a great gal. Kind of put me on, made the world out of me and stuff, and I felt pretty good. But now that we're divorced, I'm kind of back to having those, negative thoughts and stuff.
Okay. Now let's look back on your past and uh, how do you view yourself?
I view myself as, as kind of a product of my childhood. It wasn't my fault that I was that kid.
Uh, and how do you feel then that this childhood development has affected you, say, in recent years?
Like I was saying earlier, I spent my entire childhood by myself. No love as a kid. Being an only. My parents were alcoholics. There's a lot of fighting in the family between my mom and dad. So yeah, feeling sheltered.
Yeah, sometimes when people have a childhood like that, they reach certain conclusions about themselves and about other people. What what conclusions do you think you have now that may have originated back there? How do you see yourself now in terms of the childhood experiences that you've had?
I mean, after going through some counseling this last year, I felt pretty good about myself now.
And prior to going through that counseling, how did you feel about yourself?
I wasn't a good person.
Okay, so you regarded yourself as not a good person. In what ways were you not a good person at that time?
Kind of the screw the world. I had a lot of anger. I didn't look at the positives. Just really negative, really bad attitude. Um, Kind of a get them before they get me.
Okay. So up until then, you started the conflict. You had a lot of attitudes about other people, which kind of sounds competitive, like who was superior and who was inferior. And I'm going to hold people at arm's length.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And at that particular time, the loneliness didn't bother you.
Yeah, it did bother me. I didn't really know any better. I didn't know where to go. And how to be a good person. I was still pretty lonely all my life, but I was either too dumb or didn't know what to do to get started on the right track.
Okay. Now, you think that this kind of standoffish attitude that you had being aloof from other people set you up for being a lonely person? Like before you started counseling, you say, I'm going to step on these people before they step on me. This idea of seeing people in opposition to you. You think that might have affected you in terms of your relationships with other people?
Oh yeah, totally. In the last 6 months, I can see a different attitude of people towards me. When I go to somebody, I'll put my hand out and I'll shake their hand, and I'd say um, that I have like warmth or love or kindness, whereas before it was who's got the strongest handshake and don't look at me in the eyes or I'll stare you down kind of a thing.
Okay. Now, how strongly do you feel this other notion? I don't want to harp on it too much, but it does seem to be connected to your depression. You said that you've always been lonely. Like, you're always going to be lonely. You're never going to be able to find someone for yourself. How strongly do you believe that?
I don't know if I believe that at all.
So you don't really believe it?
I mean, I guess no.
Okay, so on one hand, you say that, but on the other hand, you don't really believe it.
No, I mean it's when I'm laying around the house by myself and have nothing to do. I've got nobody to talk to. Saturday afternoon watching college football and stuff, and I have no date and I've got nothing to do, and I just start thinking nobody wants me. I start feeling sorry for myself.
So when you're actually in an isolated condition, that's when these thoughts come up. But right now, you look at these very same thoughts and you don't put any stock in them. You don't believe them.
No, no, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, let me play the devil's advocate then. Why don't you believe them?
Because I feel now at my age, I'm matured. I'm becoming a good person, and I have something to offer to society.
And since you're maturing and becoming a good person, and you have something to offer to society, what does this tell us about the probability of finding somebody you can be close to?
I think that's awesome. That's great.
There's a good chance. So, right now, are you still feeling depressed?
No, no. I mean, after talking to you, I'm starting to feel a little bit better. Yeah.
Okay. And now, what's going to happen the next time that you're lying in bed by yourself?
I probably, kind of look at my thoughts and not get so wrapped up into those thoughts that I had before coming to you.
Okay. So you want to keep in mind that it's just a temporary phase in time. That those feelings aren't what you really believe. It's just the feelings that you're having to deal with when you're in that isolated condition. And so you can have the opportunity to kind of expand past that and look at some different ways other than remaining in that same isolated type of environment. Or if you're stuck there, then keeping in mind that it's only when you're in this particular isolated deal, watching football and not having anything to do, no dates lined up, or feeling like nobody wants it, that those aren't really something that you need to put much stock in.
Okay. I appreciate that, Joey.
All right, so that kind of concludes the whole thing. What were your thoughts on it as a client?
I I liked how you kept coming back to, trying to relay it back to my depression, and trying to get me to understand that my depression isn't really, you know, how it related to my life right now and stuff. How did you feel like your side of it went?
I felt pretty good about it. I think one of the things that I really like about this modality is it's you kind of are finding, and addressing certain things as they come up, and where the thought process, where those automatic biases or conclusions come from, and then when you start breaking those apart and peeling them back, you get the opportunity to find out why somebody thinks that way and what would be an alternative way. That's kind of what you're looking for with CBT is, well, it's a self-discovery thing. You're trying to help them find the answers. And if they present, oh, well, I'm lonely and it's always going to be that way type of thing, then it's like, okay, well, what's the evidence on that? And let them explore, okay, well, no, I do have friends, I do have people that care about me and whatnot. you're kind of allowing them to challenge their own thinking so that they come to a different conclusion.
Yeah, I liked how you did that.
All right.
By the way, everybody, this is what, third time we tried this?
Yeah.
Yeah, we tried this. This is our third time. Zoom, it was not fun to us tonight.
No.
Thanks, everybody, for watching.
Yep. You guys have a good night.